Well, hello everyone. I am Dr. Gultaj Somani. So I have been in Arbonne for 20 years and an NVP for 18 years. I actually just reached my 18-year anniversary as a national vice president. So what is the secret to this longevity? And I was chatting with my husband yesterday, and he said, well, you've worked very hard, and most of that work has been in lifting others up. And I think that that is the key to success and longevity in this business. If you want a business that maximizes that the time leveraging aspect of Arbonne's compensation plan, a business that is rewarding and fulfilling to your heart, one that is so fun and grows you personally, you want to become a business builder magnet. And that's what this next series of trainings is all about. Becoming a business builder magnet is a combination of mindset and skill set. And as you all know, I believe that mindset is probably the most crucial aspect of this business. And it all starts with mindset. Now, don't worry, we'll train on skill set too. So you will leave this series having a lot of the skills that you need. But I really want you to pay as much attention to mindset, and it has to become a practice in your life. So, mindset is not something that just comes naturally to most people. It really requires a discipline action that you take every day. So, the most important part of your mindset is your belief in our business opportunity. And the best part about that is that belief is a choice. Now, people are sometimes surprised to hear that, but yes, think about it. Your belief is simply a thought that is repeated over and over again, and it informs everything you do. And you can choose what to believe. And so I want you to ask yourself, what do you really believe about the Arbonne opportunity? Do you truly believe that it's the best way to create income and flexibility freedom? So I want you to think about my example. 20 years ago, I was the medical director and full-time physician at our local university. I made a very healthy six-figure income, and I had lots of prestige and respect. I had a part-time stay-at-home husband who looked after our daughter and our home and all those things. And I would say that from the outside, things looked perfect. So would you have asked me to take a look at the Arbonne opportunity? I think 99% of people would say no, they wouldn't. They would have prejudged me, my answer, to be a hell no. And in doing so, they would have begrudged me the time that I've had to be present with my daughter in her life, the ability to help both my parents during their time of illness and as they passed away, the flexibility to travel the world for long periods of time, and most impactfully, to continue to have a great income when I was sideswiped by an 18-wheeler semi that caused a brain injury that immediately ended my medical career. And I want you to keep this in mind because your job is to offer, to believe in this gift and to offer it to everyone because you don't know what their future holds. You don't know what's happening in their hearts. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors. And you have to understand and you have to believe that in this business, we are packing parachutes and building life rafts for people. And that is the belief you need. It has to compel you to step outside of your comfort zone and offer people the business opportunity. Look at it this way. If you were confident that you had the cure for cancer, would you offer it to everyone? Or would you think, oh, Jane is so healthy, she would never need what I have? Another way to look at it is, do you have, imagine you have $100 bills to give out to everybody, right? You have an unlimited $100 bill. $100 bills, handing them out. And be prepared in Arbonne to be met with skepticism. And I think you'll see, you'll hand out $100 bills. If you come across somebody and they say, "Oh no, I'm good. I don't need that $100 bill. I don't want your $100 bill." you know, how would you respond to that skepticism? You'd be like, "No problem. Go on to the next person and offer them the $100 bill," right? And so you want that same kind of attitude towards skepticism. You just want it to roll off your back, um, and not let it get to you. And we're going to talk a lot more about this. So you don't want one person's skepticism to prevent you from offering this to another person. So, how do you build belief? It just isn't something that you might have immediately. I had to work on it as well. And so, the first thing is to decide. And that sounds like it can't be that simple, but it really is that simple. You have to decide that you are believing in this opportunity, and you have to remake that decision every single day. You have to nurture this belief. And the way you do that is you watch all the Discover Arbonnes that are coming your way. Look at the success stories in our Arbonne app on the US site. There are tons of my stories that are success stories. That we have a weekly Discover Arbonne. Watch that every week. Every time you have an opportunity to hear someone tell their Arbonne story of success, watch that. Listen to that. Write down language that appeals to you that sounds like, "Yeah, I think I could say that," because this takes training. Look at our compensation plan. Have you actually looked at our compensation plan to look at the dollars that they are paying out at the different levels? Go to the US compensation plan and look at the top 50 average national vice presidents and what they are earning yearly. Those are real numbers, you guys. That is black and white evidence. Immerse yourself in this practice in some way every day. Yellow stickies on your walls, on your mirror in the bathroom, wherever, at your laptop, on your cell phone, have a screenshot. Um, those yellow stickies can say things like, "I am a business builder magnet. The best people are coming to me looking for the business that I have." Um, you know, it, think of there's all kinds of affirmations. I've said things like, "I'm attracting people who want to jump in with me and go straight to the top. I am attracting people who are hardworking and willing to do what it takes to grow this business to the top. I'm attracting people who love Arbonne and and are coachable." That's a very key thing. So having yellow stickies everywhere that allows you to immerse yourself in your belief and what you're looking for. Visualize. Lenka Stoller is a queen of visualizing. She's done so many trainings around visualization. So visualize yourself handing out the keys to a white Mercedes Benz. This is my favorite part. I think I've promoted 28 or 30 people to their white Mercedes Benz level in Arbonne. And my favorite part has been handing them the keys to that Mercedes, because that Mercedes symbolizes their dreams coming true. Because when they achieve that level, now they're making a significant amount of money, and they've built in a significant amount of time freedom. Um, so, uh, yes, we talked about different yellow stickies. The universe is sending me people who want to jump in and commit to growing this business to the top. Everyone wants to join my business right now. And and the last thing around building your belief is to start where you are now. So you can look at the compensation plan and see what people are earning. Those are the real numbers. But if that feels like too much of a stretch, just start with your belief now. What was the biggest paycheck that you've ever had in Arbonne? As a district manager, it may have been $500. Think about who you know that could use $500. And are you willing to teach them how to do it? Because you know exactly how to do it. Now, when we first started in our business, there was no such thing as preferred clients. Everybody got our full 35% off. And so my first paycheck in Arbonne was $17. And then I think my following paycheck, because I was a district manager, was something like, I don't know, I want to say $200. And so these are not big numbers, you guys. Like you have to remember, as a physician, I could work a walk-in clinic 20 years ago, 6 hours, and I would walk away with $1,500. So at the beginning of this business, it was very difficult for me to see how I was, because I was used to trading time for money and I was very well paid for every hour that I worked. And when I started my Arbonne business, that wasn't the case at all. I would go out and do group presentations and I would do 8 a month. And then I would come away with this $200 paycheck. And so that's where belief comes in. That's where hearing success stories come in. I remember clinging to one of the physician success stories that I heard very early in my business that I would listen to over and over again. And it was a doctor who actually was able to uh, leave her full-time practice and build a clinic, a medical clinic in Guatemala. And I had spent a lot of time working overseas in the developing world. And so to me, this was, the dream to be able to actually practice medicine, to give back and not actually to have an income from it. And so I held on to those kinds of stories so that I could hold on to my belief that this will work and that this is worth people doing. And I can, with my integrity, offer this to people. So, how do you convey your belief? So, this is where we come to some of your skill set, the beginning of your skill set. It starts with your why story. Everyone you know and meet needs to hear your why story. And building a compelling why story is probably one of the most important things that you need to do. And you will tweak this over time. Don't expect it to be great right away. This is something I love doing, workshopping why stories. I know Tanis likes doing it, so does Lenka. We're all willing to have you write out your why story and have us take a look at it. So I like to break down a why story into 5 parts. And I like to, I say you have to build a compelling why story. It compels people to take a look. It compels people to really hear what you're offering. So it has to be relatable to them. So the first part is just introducing yourself and painting your credibility, right? So in my example, I might say, hi, I'm Gultaj Samani. I'm a family physician at Simon Fraser University. I have a daughter and I'm married and I loved what I do. I love what I do, but I have absolutely no time to spend with my daughter, and I have missed every milestone in her early years. So, so you want to introduce yourself and paint your credibility, and that credibility might be your occupation. It might be, if you're a sports fiend, it might be that you're a mom or a grandmom and you have lots of responsibilities, but you want to show that you are, you're not a flake that has like hours and hours in the day to just build a business for no reason, right? It has to be that I am somebody who has a work ethic. I'm somebody who most people would relate to. I'm seen as smart and I'm making this decision, implying then that they are safe to do so as well. They are, it's okay for them to follow you. So introducing yourself and painting your credibility, that's number one. Number two, you want to describe your life before Arbonne. And this is the pain point, the chaos, right? That you wanted to alleviate. Why did you want to start this business? Yeah, of course, maybe you fell in love with the products, but that's usually not enough. That's enough to become a preferred client. But what is it that compelled you to say, I am willing to put in some work and energy and discomfort into building this business. What is it that I wanted to change? And for most people, it's either time or money, right? That compels them. So, um, how did you, and then the next step is, how did you find Arbonne? So I went to a group presentation and I heard this doctor telling us about Arbonne. I learned about all the nasty ingredients there are in products out there that I had no idea about. I fell in love with the products and I thought, I want to share this knowledge with others. I also really needed to make a change in my life so that I could bring in more money, um, to be able to pay our mortgage. I was all things, there are all kinds of phrases. We were always finding that there was more month than money. Um, for some people, we have had many teachers in Arbonne. We have many teachers in Arbonne, and they would say things like, I had all this energy to contribute to all the kids that I was teaching, but when I came home and I had to give to my own kids, I just didn't have anything left. So you want to be thinking about language like that. Like, what is the pain point that people would relate to? So when I talk about it, of course, I talk about being a professional and not having time. So we had lots of money, but I did not have time. And I was a heartbroken mom to miss those milestones. But I always also paint the opposite scenario. I always say, but I know many people, many women who are stay-at-home moms who really wanted to build some financial independence and contribute to their family income. Plus, what mom doesn't like to spend a couple of adult evenings and growing personally with other adults? So you want to be, as you're talking about what compelled you, you want to also paint a little bit of that opposite scenario, because you're going to be in the room with people who are not all the same as you, right? And so and that's, I'll come back to that in a minute, okay, about how you know who's in your room. So um, I also find, as part of this story of what compelled me to start, I like to add just one fear or hesitation. And there are many. I had many fears and hesitations, but I would say my biggest barrier was, what would people think? And between us, I want you to know that I had no idea how much that barrier was holding me back in all aspects of my life. It wasn't until I had to break through that barrier in starting and building my Arbonne business that that personal growth was able to extrapolate itself into the rest of my life, and I could see the positive impact of it. So for me, that's what I say. I was so hesitant because I really didn't know. I was very afraid of what people think. Like, I'm a brown woman from a very conservative family, and my parents were very proud of me being a doctor. Um, but I realized that if this was the one chance that I had to be able to build my income and still have flexibility in my schedule to have time with my daughter, and if I didn't take it, I would always regret it. And so for somebody else, it might be, I have another physician friend who's in Arbonne, and for her, she had 3 kids, worked full time, husband worked full time. And so what her hesitation is I was so busy, I could not imagine adding one more thing to my calendar. But I knew that if I didn't change something, nothing would change. So I hope you guys are getting sort of the idea of how you're building this compelling why story. Okay. Um, and then, you know, um, the next part of your why story is either what your life looks like now, that's where I focus, or if you're early in your business, what your intention is for your life to look like. So you might want to say, I am so excited to have started this business because now I can see a year from now how we might be able to buy a place of our own. or I can see a year from now how I can actually take my kids to Disneyland. Or I can see with this business how I can start paying for my kids' hockey. I had no idea kids' activities were so expensive. Okay, that's me. I had no idea how expensive dance was. And I just can't imagine how people are affording these extras in today's economy. So think about, what it looks like in a year from now. What is your hope to achieve in your Arbonne business? And paint that picture at every single time you speak about your why story. And then the final part of your why story, which is very important that people often will miss, is the invitation, right? The invite. I am looking for people to teach and train to do what I do. It may not be for you, but who do you know that is looking to earn a bit extra or to even replace a six-figure income? Talk to me afterwards and I will give you some information, or let me know so we can chat a little bit about this. So that is your 5 parts of a why story. Now, the one that I've described here has a little more detail, it's longer, and this is the version that you would speak at a group presentation or a one-on-one or an Arbonne brand chat, or maybe you're doing a social media Discover Arbonne. You will speak a little bit more detailed why story. But those same 5 parts can happen very briefly, like when you're standing in a lineup and you meet somebody and you want to give them a sample, and it can be just very short, hi, I'm Jane Smith. And let me give you an example. A common one that I find I will give a sample to or want to prospect um, is a server if they're good. Like if I get an amazing server with great customer service, um, I want to ask them to take a look at my business because serving looks like a really hard job. And I know they get tips, but boy, they are working their bums off. And I feel like they could put the customer service skills they have into building an Arbonne business and be able to leverage their time and replace that income, right? And so I will just say, hey, you know what? Your customer service was so great. I have no idea if what I do would be a fit for you, but I am a physician by profession and I started a health and wellness business a while ago. And I'm always looking for people to teach and train how to do this. I want to give you a sample. These products are vegan, they work, and they have none of the bad stuff in them. Would you be willing to try it and give me some feedback? This is what it is. And can I get your cell number or your Instagram? And I can reach out to you in a couple of days. So that's very short. So you want to be able to, write different versions and don't be afraid to write it down and practice it in front of a mirror. It's not that it's supposed to just come naturally. It's a skill. That part is a skill, right? The mindset stuff is all mindset, the belief, the willingness to offer, the outside your comfort zone, the overcoming your fear. That's all mindset, the visualization, the yellow stickies. But the why story, writing it, presenting it, this is a skill set, and it will start to roll off your tongue. It will become natural. And you have to be prepared to deal with rejection and skepticism, okay? Expect it, but don't accept it. I think every single VP in my business was a skeptic and initially said no. Every single one. In fact, when somebody is skeptical, I think, hey, that's a good sign. They're thinking, they're asking questions. They're not just going to fall for anything, right? They're smart. And so you have to kind of figure out when a no is actually a maybe later. And here are the things to ask yourself. 1, have I told the full Arbonne story in a meaningful way to this person? So it's not enough to say, can you take a look at my Arbonne business? No, they don't know what Arbonne is. They're making all kinds of preconceived judgments about what Arbonne is, right? They're thinking they're going to be the Avon lady dropping off catalogs at the door. Now, I know I'm aging myself, but there are people who have many ideas about what network marketing is, and lots of those ideas are negative. And so you don't want them to prejudge what you're offering until you have actually told them the full Arbonne story in a meaningful way to them. And we'll talk more about what a full, meaningful Arbonne story is in a later training. Number two, you're going to ask yourself, have they tried our products and actually had a business chat with me? Right? Because we're trying to figure out, do they know enough to say no? Do they know enough to say no? And most people are saying no before they know anything. And then number three, have you followed up? In our organization, Diana Gilbert followed up with one of our VPs, Tova, for 7 months. And every month, this girl said no, no. She'd call her, she'd say, no, not interested. She had a very good job. She was, quite successful, etc. But in the 8th month that Diana called her, because Diana was convinced that this woman would be amazing, and she has been, in the 8th month, this woman had played a game of Would You Rather. I don't know if you know this game, but she had played a game with the family, Would You Rather? And one question was, would you rather have taken an opportunity to fulfill your dreams and failed, or never taken the opportunity at all? And that's when Diana called her, she said, yes, because she knew that she would rather be that person who took the opportunity to make her dreams come true and failed than to not take it at all. So, what you don't know, and this is kind of where our prejudging comes in, what you don't know is what's going on in their life, what's changed in their life between the last time you spoke to them and today. And that's why follow up is really important. And this brings me to the skill of the art of learning the art of being pleasantly persistent. Until you have presented the business and the products in a meaningful way, they are still a maybe. The pleasant persistence is often just getting them to the table. So how do you do that? Well, getting them to the table is a whole other skill in itself. And I believe that this skill comes down to presenting the ask, having them look at Arbonne in a way, um, in a way that, sorry, my apologies, in a way that um, they will open it, right? So I always say Arbonne is a gift. Arbonne is a gift, and you have to present it in a way that they're going to open it. So just give me a second, okay? Sorry, guys. So sorry about that, you guys. My husband was supposed to be here, but he's not. So the dog was barking. I apologize. So, okay, I want you to see Arbonne as a gift that you're offering somebody, right? And so think about when you give somebody a gift, don't you consider the wrapping that you do with them in mind? You do, right? So I want you to think of two people, and these are real examples in my business. Take Jane and Jill. Okay, so Jane is an actress in the performance industry, very much concerned with luxury, how she looks. Um, and so when you speak to her, you want to emphasize how Arbonne is all about, um, high performance results, beautiful packaging, luxury trips, the white Mercedes Benz, right? that is what's going to get her to maybe want to take a look. Now, if you look at Jill, who's also in my business, she's a yoga instructor, a Pilates teacher. She grows her own garden, her own food. And so in her situation, I emphasized that Arbonne was vegan, cruelty free. It's a B Corp. We're committed to sustainability. We're gray water safe. And what the Arbonne Foundation is doing with places like Habitat for Humanity and the youth, right? So you can see how it's the same company, the same business, the same products, but I am presenting this in a way to appeal to the person. Um, and I know I'm making a judgment. I know, and there's some of that here, right? We're kind of making some judgments about what might appeal to somebody, but they are educated judgments. And believe me, it really does work. So, okay, now I am at 5:38 here, and I'm going to just touch on the next skill set because that's training number one. But I do want to touch on the next skill set, which is, are you getting in front of enough people? Because it's one thing to have an amazing belief and mindset, an awesome knock your socks off why story. But it's another to then have the people to tell it to, right? It really has to come hand in hand. You have to have those people. And my experience tells me that to find one or two business partners, you need to be getting in front of 40 faces, 40 new faces a month. Now, have built a bulk of my business through small group presentations because it was actually much simpler. I got in front of 5 people twice a week in small groups. And that meant, in a month, I did 8, and 8 times 5 is 40. And that's it. Aside from any follow up or biz chats from that, I did not try to find people the rest of the time. So that I found very simple, but it really depends on how you're building your business. If you're much more into one-on-ones, social media, etc. But the important thing is at the end of the day, it's 40 new faces that you are giving a meaning, you're telling the Arbonne story in a meaningful way. And when you're thinking about those people, what are you looking for? And I want you to write this down because I want you all to be sort of thinking about this and working on this as the week goes forward until next week. So if you're new in your business, you're writing down all the people you know. You've probably already started that, writing down people you know and the people they know, right? Because you often know the people they know. And once you've done that, I want you to put a check mark beside people with these characteristics. So people who are good with people who have a track record of success, right? That shows you that they have a work ethic. People with influence. So these are the people that everybody goes to and says, hey, where did you get your haircut? Where did you buy that suit? I love your skin. Those kinds of people. We all know those people. Those are the people you might be going to say, hey, I'm looking for this item. Where should I go? And then people who have a little money to invest, because we want people to be able to buy the product, right? Even if they just signed up as a consultant and did just that first little order, it still requires some money. But most people do require a bit of a demo line to do this business, and we can talk a little bit about that. We will talk about that in the last episode. And then the last one is people who have a magnetic energy, people that you would love to work with. So that might be your sister, or maybe not your sister, but like it might be just your best friend that you would love to see more. So, or somebody that you're always admiring and thinking, that woman is always so positive and upbeat. I really want to talk to her about Arbonne. And remember that when you ask people to take a look at Arbonne, it's always good to say, look, I totally get it may not be a fit for you, but I want you to come, meet me, let me buy you a glass of wine or a coffee, tell you about it because it may be for somebody you know. And this opportunity is changing lives, just like it's starting to change mine. And I really want as many people to know about it as possible, right? It's very much the energy of I have a gift to offer. And that is all comes back to your belief. You're not asking them for something, you are offering them something. You know, Jim Rohn would say, for every 10 people that I chat with about my business, 7 people say no. And I'm okay with you being one of those 7 people. Let's meet, and after that you can tell me if that's where you sit. So those are some of the, those are some of the things that I believe are sort of the basis of this becoming a business builder magnet. And those are the skills I want you to be working on. Everything to do with your belief and your mindset. Uh, Creating your why story this week. I want you to work on that. And people, your list of people, who are you asking? And these are people that you will either ask to do group presentations, one-on-ones, biz chats, all kinds of things like that. And remember, asking for referrals is so helpful. So if you have preferred clients, reach out to them and say, hey, I'm really looking for people who are looking for something. Who do you know? And the reason I like that phrase, I'm looking for people who are looking for something, is that that something is different for everyone, right? I wanted to be able to make a 6-figure income and work less. Other people want to be able to, um, you know, work a little bit and build some financial independence. There are some people who want to grow personally. There's just some people who want to quit their job, some people who might want to just divorce their husband. I mean, the list is endless. I have a why from all these people in my business, starting a rescue, a dog rescue. One of our VPs has built a very successful dog rescue business in Alberta. So there's just so many options. And that's why I like that phrase. I'm looking for people who are looking for something. Because if you say I'm looking for people who are looking for a network marketing business, that's a prejudgment that they're going to make. I'm looking for somebody who wants to do Arbonne with me. Again, they don't know what that looks like. So that again, there's all kinds of prejudgment that will happen that is not necessarily the truth. And so when you're asking for referrals, you want to ask in an open-ended way. And reason I emphasize that, you guys, is that one of our NVPs in Arbonne is actually exactly that. She was telling a friend about how unhappy she was in her career. And her friend was a good friend of somebody else who had just started her Arbonne business. And it wasn't for her. This woman was a lawyer and had no interest in doing anything different. And so she gave this girl's card to this woman and said, hey, you know what? My friend told me about this and it sounds kind of intriguing. It's a fairly new opportunity. It's very cool. Might be something for you. Here's her card. And she called her, and that woman invited her to a Discover Arbonne that happened to be happening that evening. And that night she jumped in, and today she's an NVP. So I want you to have that belief that the possibilities of how your business builders are coming to your magnet. You're creating the magnet, you're learning the skills to get the word out, taking that aligned action, and how they will come to you. Those are the miracles that we see over and over again in our business. You have to be in enough activity and you have to have that solid belief. But if you commit to this, it will happen. And so over the next 2 more weeks, we're going to dive deeper into actual words you're going to say, how you present, the business meeting, the demo order, etc. But I hope that that was a good start for you guys. And if there's any questions, oh, I haven't even looked at the chat. Let me stop the recording. Thank you so much for listening.